Hey, okay, so this is going to be part two of the Tree of Life and Cognition video. So I put up a different Tree of Life here because it shows basically the hidden trait, which is a trait that comes about through life. It's not a trait that's inherent in human cognition, according at least to the Tree of Life theory, I guess. Um, so the first after the will, okay, the first Trinity is going to be Chokhmah, Bina, and Dat. Basically, Chokhmah is translated as wisdom, but it's really Kabbalistically it's more like creativity. Bina literally means understanding. So you have creativity, understanding, and Dat is like knowledge. Okay, so you have creativity, understanding, and knowledge. And right away, you'll notice that understanding sort of relates a little bit to, and creativity relates to intuition from Jungian typology, and knowledge relates a little bit more to sensing. But as you know, this is a little bit of a different system. The way it works is these are, yeah, separate traits, but each one is, I guess, contained in the previous one. So within understanding, there's creativity. And the way it works is there's creativity and understanding together will create knowledge. Just bring a example for this. So let's talk about the plow. Okay, so there was a period in human civilization where there was no plow and agriculture was a certain way. And when the plow was invented, there was a huge agricultural revolution, and all of agriculture changed because there was this plow that animals could pull and plant seeds en masse and things like this. So in order for the plow to be invented, you needed to have an aspect of creativity, an aspect of understanding, and the two together come together to form knowledge of what a plow is and how it works. And then that knowledge in the sensory can be passed on to other people, and they can use their creativity and understanding to form that knowledge within them as well. Okay, and so again, before that that plow could be invented, the person needed to gather knowledge and gather understanding and gather and be creative in a way to create this plow. Okay, and so then from then on, this knowledge of the plow will be passed on throughout human history, and from the knowledge you can get back to the understanding and of what a plow is, right? So the idea that this is it's knowledge is it's like a tree. It's also a tree. It's something that advances and grows throughout all of human history. Now, one thing you'll see in the rest of the videos, and including this one, that each trait has a unrectified side, an impure side, and a pure side, a rectified side. And part of the rectification is each trait in and of itself needs to be rectified in a way, and then part of it means that it needs to be balanced, right? So if you have only creativity without understanding, there's no balance in the understanding, then you'll just create nonsense, right? If you have only understanding without creativity, you won't create any new knowledge, right? And so and knowledge is going to be that trait. So let's just understand how knowledge is pure or impure, or rectified or unrectified. So we'll go to like germ theory, for example. Okay, so before there was germ theory, people were doing surgery. No one was washing their utensils. No one was washing their hands. People were getting sick in hospitals and dying for absolutely no reason. They didn't even have to go through surgery sometimes, and they would die because of bad utensils. No one had germ theory. No one had that knowledge, had attained that knowledge. And so the same thing, someone had to have some sort of combination between creativity and understanding in order to discover this knowledge. And the knowledge also comes from data, right? So like they acquire this data, this knowledge, and this knowledge assists their creativity and understanding in coming up with germ theory, which is also can be considered an understanding. But then it has to be passed on through some form of knowledge, right? So before germ theory was around, there was an impure knowledge, right? You could know all of the knowledge that there was across humankind, and you would still get people killed in surgery, right? After germ theory, you have rectified your knowledge by acquiring true knowledge, like by acquiring knowledge that is actually real, right? Before that, they had all kinds of weird medical theories as well, like about bile and I don't know, the four phlegms or whatever they called them. So like, so the idea that knowledge can be false and then rectified by truth, and in this way your will can come through in a more pure way, right? So if you have impure knowledge, faulty knowledge, your will come through improperly, right? You'll come and perform that surgery improperly, right, into the world. Okay, and so the idea is through the attainment of knowledge, humanity can rectify their will, right, and rectify the way their will comes into the world, right? And the same thing, will doesn't need to come through knowledge; it can come through understanding, or it can come through creativity, right? And the idea is that this Trinity forms some kind of ecosystem, some kind of balance, where knowledge is going to balance your creativity and your understanding, right? And now we get into the masculine and feminine ideas of the traits. Now, this is going to be different from objective personality, masculine, feminine. This is the ancient historical idea of masculine, feminine. Masculine is the overflowing, the male seed has billions of, or millions, I don't know the exact number, of potential in it, and then the female egg can only accept one, right? And so that's the idea of masculine and feminine here. So masculine is like overflowing, and feminine is like this vessel that accepts the creativity. And this is how this sort of balances out. The understanding is going to channel your creativity, or your knowledge is going to channel your creativity, or your knowledge is going to channel your understanding, right? And so you'll see that this is really a balance between, in Jungian terms, sensory, which is and intuition, right? And creativity is going to be within intuition, right? And so creativity is something that is all over your cognitive functions. It's not something only present in intuition, but intuition is going to utilize the creativity, and it's going to be the next layer outside of the creativity. And that's why intuition and creativity and cognitive functions are really well linked, because intuition is going to use that creativity more than any other function. And it's the same thing with thinking. Thinking is going to utilize logic in the same way, right? We don't really get that in this tree, but the other thing is the way that these are balanced in Jungian terms is either by value or by thinking. Here, the value in the thinking is absent. It's really just I guess, a balance between understanding and knowledge in and of itself. Anyways, it's an interesting way to go about it, and go about thinking of how your will comes through knowledge, or comes through creativity, right? You have this idea, this will, this desire, and you have to be creative in how you achieve that desire in the world, right? Or you have to understand how you can bring that about, or have some kind of procedural knowledge, or develop a knowledge in order to pass it on. And so this is really the first Trinity. It's the intellectual Trinity of how creativity, understanding, and knowledge come together. Now you'll see that the next, we're going to talk about them separately, I guess, the trees, but really whatever is determined on this tree can make use of this Trinity, can make use of the next Trinity. Okay, so you can have creativity make use of one aspect or all of the aspects of your ethics, right? And so you could be creative in your ethics to bypass your ethics. You can use knowledge to bypass your ethics, or to focus on your ethics, or you can use understanding to bypass and focus on your ethics, right? And the inverse, you can use your ethics to bypass your understanding or knowledge, or bypass your creativity. Okay, so the real idea is behind this is the rectification of these traits, the balance of these traits, and creating a pure understanding and a pure knowledge, so that your will can come through to the world in a pure and correct way. Otherwise, you're just bringing in nonsense and uselessness to the world, right? And so that's kind of the idea here. Anyways, that's the second video. Next video, I'm going to get into the ethical side And yeah, have a good one.